Hello, welcome to Creepy Nibs on Count Chocula. Today we have a writing fluid examination of a pilot Iroshizuku Kiri-same. This has been a well-loved ink. It will not show up properly, but I have used a pretty damn good amount of this ink. Yes, this is nice. I like it. It is a gray, as you can tell. Comes in this bottle. I like the bottle. It's a nice bottle. Does not match the stripe there, though. Okay. Regardless, it's nice. This is weighty. It's good stuff. Okay. Coloring swatch. Boom. Okay. So here it is. Now I lay it on pretty thick when I do my coloring swatches. I'm going to use a glass nib for writing the name at the top. So your mileage may vary when you use this in a pen. But we'll see how it looks in a pen later, because that's how these work. It's nice. It's a gray, but it has a lot of pink undertones, which I like. Pink is one of my favorite colors. Comparisons. Herbin Cacao do Brésil. Probably pronounced that wrong, but whatever. But it has a similar vibe. It doesn't look the same at all, but it's kind of got that same, like, undertones going on. This is more brown, of course, and this is definitely a gray, but they both kind of have that pink underneath. And then Diamine Earl Grey. See, I have a shit ton of grays in my collection, and none of them really match this one. They've all got, like, either blue undertones or purple undertones or brown undertones, but this one has that pink. It's really unique. I like it. This is Diamine Earl Grey. You can see in the writing it's kind of similar, like this is just a lighter version of that, but yeah, good stuff. Don't know how helpful that was. Chromatography. Oh, pointy thing. Okay, here's the one the way you're supposed to do it, and that is not the camera being ridiculous. It does look that bright in person. Here's the one that I let dry, and here's the one with the words are not my friend today, with acetone. And they look pretty much the same all across the board. So there's a definitely dark gray line down at the bottom. It fades up. It goes into a peach and then into a pink. Like pink. And that's pretty cool. I like that. Let it dry. Got darker. So there's a mild amount of water resistance here. And then with the acetone, looks pretty much the same, except there's not as much of a gray haze in between. It's just like, goes right from that dark gray into the peach into the pink. So that's pretty. I like this. It's gorgeous. Good stuff. Alright. Bleach Test. It kind of knocked it out a little bit. Turned it like pithy, yellow, gray-ish. I don't know, it's weird. I don't mind the color though. That's kind of pretty. I bet you can do some fun stuff with this if you, like, do that whole Nick Stewart thing. If you don't know who that is, Google him. He's real cool and does a lot of really cool stuff with fountain pen inks. Away with you. Oh, that's gone forever. Time to use for the paper test. We have a Jinhao 992 with an extra fine replacement nib. With an extra fine replacement nib. Yes. And this nib is dry. This is the driest nib I own by far. I am surprised that I got anything to come out of it. You can't see through these tines at all whatsoever. So yes. And this ink lives in this pen. Like, as soon as I got this pen, this ink was dedicated to it. Even though I have other grays that I like more, and that would probably match the body better. Whatever, irrelevant. And here it is with a, I'm going to call it a Lamy Safari, but it's not actually a Lamy Safari, it's a Lanbitou 757. But it is the exact same thing as a Lamy Safari. Because what I did was I took my Lamy Safari nib and feed, and I put it in this pen, along with a Lamy converter. And body is identical. It even does that thing where you, like, put it on top of something and it balances. Of course, it's not going to do it well on camera. Maybe. No, it's because this is sloped a little bit. whatever. I'm not going to try. That's relevant. But yeah, this is a super broad, super wet nib. It is like crazy wet. I don't even know how to begin to describe how wet this pen is. But yes, there's that. Okay, so paper tests. Clairefontaine 90 grams per square meter. Zoom. Shading is real nice. Autofocus, be my friend. Thank you. But yeah, it's just a gray with those, warmer gray with those rosy undertones. It's really pretty. You get shading in that extra fine really well. It's a really nice ink. This was probably my favorite ink for a little while until some others came along. So I don't use this anymore as often as I did. But I have nothing against it. It's still really pretty. It's just others have kind of nudged it out of the park. Focus. There. Okay. But yeah, it's not super duper saturated, but it's not so unsaturated that it's unreadable. See, you can see it's not even hard to read in that extra fine. It took 5 seconds to dry in that extra fine nib, and 25 seconds to dry in that broad nib. You could see by the smears just how dry this pen is and just how wet this one is. It's kind of ridiculous. That swatch is really pretty. You get a lot of that pink underneath the gray. And the water test was interesting. All it did was wash away that pink. And it leaves behind that gray that we saw in the chromatography. Kind of like that, yeah. And yeah, this is good water resistance. If you get this wet, you could probably recover it pretty well. There's no bleed, there's no feathering, there's no echo, and there's no sheen. Fabriano Echo Qua, 85 grams per square meter. Again, really nice. I think this paper brought out a little bit more of the rosy undertones. Yeah. It's good. I'm really warming up to this Fabriano paper. And you can see a little bit of glitter in the broad nib. I had been using that pen for Mnemosyne Coolsack Nebula, and glitter never goes away. Never goes away. Look at that smear. That didn't go anywhere. That scrubby was a pain in the dick. Took 4 seconds to dry in that one, and 31 in the broad. The swatch looks pretty. Water resistance, again, very good. I guess as far as light inks like this go. Definitely recoverable in a broad. You won't have any issues with that. No bleed, feather spread, echo sheen. Rhodia, 80 grams per square meter. It looked a little bit more purple on this one. It's not a bad thing, it's just a thing. Shading, again, gorgeous. You get some, like, kind of haloing effects in that broad. Very nice. Very nice. 3 seconds in the extra fine and 23 in the broad. These dry times are a little bit all over the place, but it keeps kind of a pattern. Like, it takes a very short amount of time in the extra fine and then a very long time in the broad. That swatch looks pretty. Water test, again, really well. You could really see how it, like, washed away that pink and took away a lot of the, I guess, the character that the ink has. And water resistance is good. No bleed, no feather, no spread, no echo, no sheen. Tomoe River 68 gram cream. Look at that. Oh my god, those halos in the broad. And that shading. Oh my god. I'm just gonna ejaculate all over the room. That was disgusting. Forgive me for that. But yeah, it's so pretty. This is so pretty. I'm probably gonna end up buying like a, I don't know, is it called a ream? 100 sheets of the cream Tomoe River, just so that I could dick around on it. 4 seconds in the extra fine, 36 in the broad. Water resistance, pretty good. Not as good as it was on the other papers, but in that broad, that's like 100% recoverable. That's, whoa, what are you doing, camera? What are you doing, camera? What are you doing? Okay, oh yeah, still pretty good. No bleed feather spread. Get a little tiny bit. I don't know. I wouldn't call that echo. But yeah, there you go. Good stuff. No sheen. All that other stuff. Tomoe River, 52 gram. Again, beautiful halo effect. Not quite as good as it was on the 68, but still really good. Shading is fantastic. Look at that. Look at that. That's, oh my god, it like runs the gamut. Okay, 5 seconds in the extra fine, 39 seconds in the broad, which is a step up. The swatch looks pretty good. It's a bigger swatch because I don't know how to function. Water tested, not too bad. Not too bad. It washed away the pink again and left that gray behind. But it's nice. It's nice. It's not too bad. Recoverable, I would say. You get a little bit of echo, but it's Tomoe River, and that's to be expected. Not as much in the extra fine as you do in the broad, though. But still nice. It, like, almost bled through in that swatch, but I laid that on super heavy. HP Premium 32-pound Laserjet. You still get shading on this paper. That's pretty cool. It wasn't the worst thing in the world. I've had poorer writing experiences with this paper. But yeah, look at that shading. That's amazing. If you like shading, get this ink. Like, at least try a sample. It's not going to kill you. It took 3 seconds to dry in the extra fine and 18 seconds to dry in the broad. Water tested real good. You could barely tell that anything happened to it, except you could tell the pink washed away a little bit there. But that's pretty good. No bleed, feather spread, echo sheen, maybe a little bit of spread, but it's not negligible, I guess you could say. Whew, shitty 20-pound copy paper. It looks like shit. But everything looks like shit on this paper. But you still get shading. You still get shading. I don't understand how that's a thing, but it is. Yeah, it wasn't as bad as it was with some other inks, though. Like, this paper handled the ink relatively well. It's a low bar, but it jumped over the bar. It's good. It didn't trip over the bar. Or maybe it did. I don't know what's going on. What metaphors, etc. Yeah, it's a lot of feathering in the broad. It took 1 second to dry in that extra fine and 5 seconds to dry in the broad. Water test. It didn't really do much to the extra fine, but to the broad, it, like, exploded with pink. And, like, some of the water creeped over there and just, like, pink. So that's a thing. It looks all woolly and gross, and I don't want to keep looking at it. You do get bleed. But not a whole lot in that extra fine. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Definitely bleed in that broad, but this is a super wet broad, so that's cheating. But decently good performance. If you have to use garbage paper, this ink would do pretty well for you. The water test pushed the pink to the back of the paper. That swatch also pushed the pink to the back of the paper. It's a thing. Take that as you will. Staples filler paper. Shading is gorgeous. A little bit of spread. Not a whole lot, but it's fine. Definitely brings out the pink a lot. It's pretty good. No complaints there. 4 seconds in the extra fine, 24 seconds in the broad. It's pretty decent. Ignore the splotches of, like, bright red, pink kind of thing, because that was my fault. Water test did not too great in the extra fine, did good in the broad, though. Little tiny bit of almost bleed in the broad, but not a whole lot in the extra fine. Certain echo all over the place, though. That's the thing. This paper's super thin. Maruman Mnemosyne, 80 gram per square meter. I switched to doing like a half sheet instead of a full A5. just so I can conserve the paper a little bit better, because I don't need to write my thoughts on the bottom because I'm doing my thoughts here. Yes, so shading is gorgeous. This ink looks marvelous on this paper, but everything looks marvelous on this paper. I could write with, like, I don't know, literally anything, and it would look good on this paper. Shading, so much shading. Oh god, Alright, it took 4 seconds to dry in the extra fine, 32 seconds to dry in the broad. That swatch looks gorgeous. Ignore all of that because that's my fault. Water test didn't do too great. However, on most of the other papers, it was let dry for about 8 or so hours, and this one it was only about like half an hour. So worst case scenario, you just write it, you spill water on it, and yeah, this happens. So it's not the greatest thing in the world as far as like instant water resistance, but if you give it a little bit of time, it'll stick around. But it still stayed. You could read that. You can tell that says water. So yeah, that's good. That's good stuff. I don't know if I said it already, but there's no bleed, feather, spread, echo, or sheen. So that's pretty good. Pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff. So this was Pilot Iroshizuku Kiri-same, which means something to do with mist, I think? Misty showers? Something like that. I could be very wrong. I'll correct myself in the description box or something like that. So I had fun. I hope you had fun. This was fun. And speaking of comments, whatever. Tell me what color you want to see me do next, or something like that, because I'm terrible at thinking for myself, and I need other people to be my brain, essentially. So, have a good day. Punch every Nazi and give yourself a present.